interesting one from my point of view, looking at them, because I think they've grown and done well. And what we're going to do is have an estate agent from one of the local estate agents on Felixstowe Live once every couple of weeks, or once a week maybe, see how it all goes, and to give us a read on local estate agency matters, so house sales and the homes business and stuff, and see what's actually happening in the world of housing, because it's important. It's important for so many of us, especially with the way that prices sometimes go up and may in the future come down. We don't know, do we? Who knows? But at least we'll get, I hope, a reasonably accurate reading on housing from our friends in the estate agency business in Felixstowe. So that will be up a little bit later in the show, I hope. And what have we got on here so far? Well, we've got one of our regulars, Steve Croydon. Good morning to you, Steve. And let's see, Julie Trenter. Morning, Julie. You'll have to do the typing course again. And then we've got Jenny. She can type. She's all right. And my goodness, it's an all-female audience so far, apart from one. And that's Louise Carr. She's there. Stay safe while we do our best. And then we have Jane Clark there. And what I'm going to do is do a fairly short introductory story to start us off with. And then we'll, of course, come back to the main feature, which is, I've got him on the screen now. Tall, dark, good-looking Jason Lewis. He's scratching his face and trying to wake up desperately. Have you just got out of your pajamas, Jason? I'm not going to have you on the screen for a moment because you look like you've just woke up. Give him a cup of coffee, somebody. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at the first story I just wanted to talk about. I don't know if you've noticed that McDonald's have been, I guess you would call it, in an odd situation. I was going to go and get a McFlurry the other day, and I didn't, because their driveway was completely kind of closed off. And what they've now done, apparently, is put in video notice boards. These are the latest things, digital notices and digital menus as well, which you see there. I think they look really interesting, and they'll be fascinated to go and get a McFlurry today. If you want me to get one for you, you'll have to ask very nicely indeed. But that's the reason why McDonald's drive-through was closed down, while they were only doing click and collect. It's a pity, but there you go. But anyway, we've got someone here as well from Wales. Esther Amas from Wales. What are you doing in Felixstowe then, Esther? We'll have to find out later in the show. But now we've got something interesting from my point of view, because we've got the man here. We were supposed to be a little bit later, but he's keen. I can see him on the screen now. Are you ready for this? Going to introduce him to you and say, here we go. We've now got the tall, dark, handsome, good-looking, look-ish, Jason, hello, how you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. How are you?
You're a bit kind of blurry, but well, who knows? Yes, get a bit closer, because we like to have plenty of volume, and the sound system on here, Jason, is automated, so the closer you get a little bit, the louder you become. There you go. I leave it to you to work that one out, but hey.
There we go.
Okay. So, yeah, Jason, we can hear you now. So that's first of all, let me just make a small adjustment. Let me just introduce you by saying you're from Scott Beckett's. Now, Scott Beckett, I have to say, I've kind of followed Scott Beckett. There we go. I've kind of followed Scott Beckett over a lot of years, really, one way or another, because they've been in business now for several years. I remember when they first started. You, I think, at the time were elsewhere, but you're now with Scott Beckett. Give us a little bit of your history in the estate agency business.
So I started in 2014, I think, when I first met you, actually, and I worked for a company called Abbott's Countrywide. I started up there as an apprentice. Since then, I've been working in Felixstowe estate agency. I've worked for various other companies, but since October of last year, I've joined Scott Beckett, and it's gone really well. We're the market leading estate agents in Felixstowe, and they have been since they opened in 2013. So same as you, I followed them quite a lot as well during my career, because they're always the ones doing so well, always doing the best, and I want to be a part of it. So they finally hired me.
Here you are then. Here you are. Tell me now, the reason why we're calling on our estate agents, the big reason from my point of view, is to kind of get a reading on how the marketplace is doing and see how people are getting on. And that's the key from my point of view, to find out what you think is happening in the marketplace. So give us a bit of a reading, if you would.
Interesting one. It's a really interesting one because obviously with the pandemic and everything, with shops being closed, I mean, we're still able to operate. We're still able to open as an office. We've got, I'm balancing my phone at the minute on one of our sort of protectors that we've got in between the desks and everything as well. So there's a lot that we have to follow, but it is still really busy as well. There's still a lot of activity happening. Like for example, this last week we sold 10 properties in 1 week, and that's a market share of about 54%. So there's still a lot of activity happening, and obviously with the stamp duty holiday that's near and to an end, there's a lot of stress at the minute and a lot of people doing what they can to get their current sales through before that deadline ends, so they can save thousands of pounds. But at the minute, like today, I've got back-to-back appointments as well. There's a lot of people still wanting their houses valued, and there's a lot of people that still want to move. So really, we can't complain about that, to be fair.
Okay, well that sounds really good. I mean, from your point of view, it's good business, and it means that you're earning a good living, I hope. From my point of view, and I think from a lot of people's point of view, we kind of wonder where things are going to go next, because I sit here, I'm retired, I don't, I'm not in the housing market as such anymore at all. But I know a lot of friends who are in the housing market, and they're quite worried about whether prices are going to go up or down once all this is over, because we worry, I think one of the things we worry about is maybe a lot of people might be out of jobs and stuff, and that's going to depress the market if it happens. We don't know, do we?
No, of course. I mean, that will be the interesting thing. Everyone talks a lot about the stamp duty holiday, but what will be the really interesting factor is when the furlough scheme ends. It will then give us a clear idea of what the unemployment numbers are, and if there are going to be massive job losses. Of course, if there is going to be job losses, then people won't want to move houses. That all of that sort of supply versus demand, isn't it? In terms of like any market, and it works with the housing market as well. So honest answer is we don't know. We brace ourselves for it going to be a quiet period, but in terms of prices, there's every chance that the housing market prices could change. It all depends on how bad people are hit. I said when the furlough scheme ends, employers keep people on, or if there's going to be massive job losses. The good thing with the Felixstowe market, and this is where we're sort of a little bit different to everywhere else, massive job losses will affect here, because we've got the port and everything like that as well. But the majority of house movers in Felixstowe don't tend to have, it's ultimately it's quite a lot of downsizing than it is anything else that happens in Felixstowe. So there's every sort of opportunity that people buying bungalows and all that sort of stuff will still be okay. But it was just going to be, when people are selling like their 4-bedroom detached, their 3-bedroom semis, their first time buyer homes, that's going to be probably what's going to be hit the most, because that's people who tend to buy them have the jobs that, to pay for it basically. And then if they're being furloughed now and not going back to work, then they're not going to move at all. So who knows, basically, is the honest answer. But we've braced ourselves for it to start getting quieter. But at the minute, well, before it was going to start getting quieter at the start of January, because obviously that had been too late for the stamp duty holiday, it's still been really busy. So we'll take it, but we'll keep being as busy as we can, really.
Well, I think the other interesting thing I just wanted to ask you in passing, we've got one more thing to do with you, which is quite important, but we'll keep that under wraps. Which the thing I want to ask is about the new house developments, because we seem to have a lot of new houses being developed at Trimley, the kind of Trimley end of town. How do you see those? Is it going to bring more residents here from elsewhere, or is it going to give people here more choices? What's really going to happen there?
If we look historically at the last building plots that happened, so you've got the Taylor Wimpey site, and you've got the Barrett site, and then you've got the Blore site. So that happened in Walton and Trimley. They brought a lot of first-time buyers, I feel, and it also brought a lot of people doing that step up. So there was, especially the Taylor Wimpey site, St Martin, that had a lot of 4 or 5 bedroom executive style houses.
Right.
That helped a lot with the market because then people selling like their 3-bedroom semis in Trimley, or their 2-bedroom mid terraces in Walton or anything like that at all. They made that jump up to those sorts of houses. I think I'm of the opinion, and I know it's very controversial with some people, but I think more houses in this sort of area is a good idea. There's a huge rental demand in Felixstowe. There's a lot of people that want to get on the ladder. And with new build, you've got the Help to Buy scheme, which helps first-time buyers and all those sorts of bits and pieces, and the government schemes, all that sort of stuff. As long as they're still going to stay in place, it makes buying a new build easier. And as long as the new builds are of good quality, which they are when they're normally built by Taylor Wimpey and Floor and these kind of people that want to build this sort of area. New houses bring more people. More people helps the town. My sort of main concern, and I'm not part of the high school anymore, but with the closing of Dean and or having one school, is that going to be fit for purpose? And the public opinion at the minute is no. But the more houses that's being built, there needs to be more other stuff as well. So more schools, more activities, and especially the ones in sort of the Golford Road development that's being talked about. They want to build primary schools and sports and stuff like that. All that sort of stuff is needed to the town, and I think a lot of people will disagree with me, but I think more houses brings more opportunities for everyone in the town already. To be fair,
I think that's great to have that opinion, because at least you're optimistic. Because I think a lot of people get a bit kind of it's not a good way to look at the world, is it? From my point of view. Now I've got a thing for you, and here it comes. Let's have a look at this. We quite like this one, actually. Here we go. This is one that's a new one on your books. Tell us a bit about it.
So this is a bungalow that I picked, that I took the photos for, I think, just before the snow. You can see in the picture there's no snow in there at all. But this is an interesting bungalow. It's one that's just come on the market with us in Chaucer Road. And Chaucer Road is a road I like a lot because it's basically it's sort of a one-way road, isn't it? So you don't get a lot of passing traffic in here, and it's a bungalow that probably all an location that a lot of people haven't really thought a lot of. However, it's in really good short distance to the town centre and also the seafront as well, which is what people want when they live in Felixstowe, being in that close proximity to the town and the seafront. And it doesn't have that price tag of an old Felixstowe bungalow because it's not in that location. So I think you get a lot of property for your money here. It's on the market at 297,500. It's a 2-bedroom detached bungalow. Both neighbours either side have done a lot of work to the rear of their bungalows in terms of extensions. And with this one, you've got a really large rear garden as well. So there's always that potential that you can sort of expand and make a lot more use of the space here. And as I said, there's obviously sale with no one would chain with off-road parking. So it's one that I like, and it's one that we're getting viewings on. Just need to find a perfect buyer for it, really.
Excellent. And in these days, of course, of working from home, if you've got a big garden, that means you can put a decent little workspace in the back garden as well, doesn't it?
I mean, this one's got a big conservatory at the minute, and that could be a good sort of office space. I know the family that were staying down were using that conservatory they were working from home. But yeah, sort of one of these sort of cedar rooms or sort of log cabins in the garden, that would be an ideal sort of space. And the garden, I believe, is east facing, so you're going to get a lot of sun into the workshop in the morning, so to help with the day.
Okay, well that's excellent, Jason. I want to thank you very much for taking part in today's show. On behalf of your firm, Scott Beckett, I think you've done a great little job, and it's really helpful to have an idea of what's happening in the world of housing, especially for people who are thinking about it right now, because I'm sure people are all the time. Okay, we'll come back to you one of these days, I hope in a few weeks, and hear from you again.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for having me.
Okay, take care now, mate. And that's the house that young's Jason was looking at, and I think he did a good job for us today and gave us a bit of decent information. It's nice to have a proper professional view on these things, because it's so easy to be led astray, I think, by kind of newspaper stories and stuff like that, where we don't really know what's happening in the real world, but at least our local estate agents do, and we'll be greeting and meeting more of them in coming Felixstowe Lives. Okay, I'm just going to take a few seconds break because my mouth has run dry and I want a drop of coffee. Well, there you go. I'm fascinated by that because that should have had some music running on the background of it, but I didn't hear any. So who knows? But that was really nice to hear from young Jason there. What a good bloke. And let's see, what else have we got in the locker today for stories? One of the things that doesn't really bug me, but it interests people is beach erosion, because it's something we always look at Felixstowe, isn't it? And the other day I was looking at some pictures that I took, or that someone else took, should I say, sorry. Someone took, and they were on a local site, and that showed some beach erosion up at the Fludgers. Quite a lot of beach seems to have gone up there, and so I thought I'd have a walk round and a proper look. I was down at Manor End as well, and there was quite a lot of beach. Looked as if it had gone there as well, because you can see by the stones that don't have seaweed on them, I imagine they're the ones where the beach has gone away a bit. There's also up here by Martello Park, there's quite a lot of beach. Looks as if it's gone. It's an interesting one, isn't it? We don't know quite what will happen to our beach in the fullness of time, do we? One of the things that was quite strongly noticed, I think I'd describe it as, really, or kind of more I don't know, that caused a lot of comment and discussion. We had some stuff on Felixstowe Live looking at Dorothy Perkins and Burton's disappearing from us. We put up a picture yesterday where they were actually stripping out the stock from the shop. And we've been looking at and talking to people about what's happening with our shopping centre. As we all know, I think some of the big shops like Edinburgh Woolen Mill, like Marks and Sparks, now Dorothy Perkins and so on, have moved away, have closed, they've gone. And we were talking about what could possibly happen. It's an interesting one. We've had all sorts of viewpoints. There's been some really interesting suggestions come up from people. One of the suggestions that I personally like a lot was that we should maybe use the 10 till 4 traffic-free area to maybe do a twice-a-week market, an open-air market. The summer's coming, the spring is coming. An open-air market in Felixstowe Town Centre from, say, 10 till 4 for maybe a couple of days every week, maybe one weekend day and a weekday, would be a really interesting thing. It might actually drag some crowds in, because the problem that we have with losing the big stores is you tend to lose numbers, you tend to lose footfall, and if there's some better way we can get footfall in our town, that has to be good news. I'd love to have your comments on anything that young Jason said, or that I'm saying at the moment, because I'm fascinated to know what you think. As always, tell us what you think, because it's important. You are citizens in our town. Make sure you have a voice, and that's one of the reasons why we do Felixstowe Live and why I'm doing these little live shows. If you've got something that you really want to say, for goodness sake, get in touch, and we'll point a camera in your face, we'll take a phone call from you, or we can put you online as we had young Jason online, and one way or another we can get to hear from you, and you can make your opinion clear to the rest of the world, to the rest of our town, to wherever, really. That's what we want to talk about. Now, going back just to the erosion thing, there was one more thing I wanted to say about beach erosion, which is that I've asked East Suffolk District Council if they can provide some commentary on the fact that it looks as if our beaches are eroding again. And I hope they'll be able to do that at some point. It'd be nice to hear from them with maybe an expert view. I'll try the Environment Agency as well and see what they've got to say, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, well, that kind of, I think, wraps me up for today. Don't forget that if you like what we do here on Felixstowe Live, you can easily become a Felixstowe Live supporter. It helps to pay some of the bills. At the moment we have, I don't know, not that much, but it costs us a few quid every month to run Felixstowe Live, and we need a little bit of help to do that. And the more we have, the more we can do. If you have an idea for some content that you would like to make, we're glad to support people who want to make content. All you have to do is get in touch with your program or content ideas, and we'll develop it with you from there. Give us a go. Give yourselves a chance as well. You never know. If you're a young person who wants to make some content, give us a yell on that as well, because we'd love to hear from you. And we would like to have our name in lights in 20 years' time and say, of course, this famous person started with Felixstowe Live. What a nice idea. I love it. Okay, let's just pick up a comment and see what we have to say. Get rid of another thing that's in my way. There we go. And Mary Conybeer, who lived here 2 years ago, loved all the shops. And Mary, they've gone. Good heavens. Esther, who we spoke to earlier, she said she's lived here, or she lived here for many years. Lucky person. I think that's the answer to that one. Let's go back and just have a look up here again. And see what we've got. This is David Bloomfield. He loves the digital screens. I do, actually. I hope that they put special offers on them just in time to catch your imagination when you fancy a Big Mac. Anyway, there you go. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Have we got anything else? I don't think we have. Okay, so what we'll do is say thank you very much for watching Felixstowe Live today. I hope you found it interesting, enjoyable, and hopefully a little bit humorous, because we try and keep things happy. Let's just run down the screen again. There we go. And this picture that we took is from just before, really, the bad weather set in. And I thought we'd put it up at the end of the show, really, so that we could say the summer will be coming, folks. We are looking forward to it. And I hope we see it soon. The sooner the better, really. And that's young Lisa Tite, who says, really enjoyed this. You're doing a grand job. Well, I'm trying. Very trying. Okay, and let's just get rid of my... Oh, heavens. One of the things that I have to tell you is that this is run as a one-man band at the moment. If you want to get involved, you only have to say so. But it does mean that you keep yourself really quite busy while you're doing it. Okay, so let's now go and say my final little bit. Okay, there we have it. Good. Well, there we go. I hope you enjoyed the little show this morning. It's a talk show, really. But the more you get involved, the more content we'll have. We'll have a big, big thank you to young Jason Lewis of Scott Beckett Estate Agents for taking part and helping to explain some aspects of the local housing business. I find him a very helpful and nice young man, to be honest with you. And you can reach him at Scott Beckett. Have a chat with him if you're thinking about moving. Okay, we'll be back on Saturday with our weekend live show. And hopefully, if you haven't seen that before, you'll come and join us on Saturday between 10 and 11, sometime like that. We'll put up a notice earlier in the morning. But in the meantime, I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves and stay safe.